So first off the bat, I'm going to talk about grooming. I've spoken about grooming before, etc., etc. So I'm just hoping that this look thing I have going is going to sort itself out eventually. I'm kind of going for that Mad Max kind of look. Well, not really. I think that's how it's turning out. But my beard's a little bit unwieldy, and so is my hair. I just haven't really figured out what I want to do with with the natural growth of my hair. I just don't know what to do with it. So it's kind of just becoming whatever it becomes by running my fingers through it. But I'm gonna have to make a decision soon because I'm getting a lot of hair on my head, on my face, elsewhere. So I have to do some manscaping, which is gonna be great. I have the tools for it. I just haven't decided what I want to do yet. So I'm gonna figure that out. I noticed in the last I don't know 2-4 days there's been some talk about menstruation, which is odd, but I mean these types of things actually do come up, and they were talking about women and how women feel about hiding their periods, and kind of using euphemisms for it, and sort of blocking the shame associated with it. But so yeah, very personal things have been in the news as of late. So maybe that's what kind of gave me a little bit kick in the ass to kind of figure out the hair thing, and personal matters. Personal hygiene is very important. In case you didn't know that before. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So I could take that off the list, like right off the list, but it is something that's going to stay on my mind. Yeah, I mean, days off work are days off work. If you have a legitimate reason for it, then you might as well do it, right? So in the last video, I talked about not really having an ism to talk about, but this time I thought about it, and I'm gonna talk about plagiarism. It's not really a word I want to look the meaning up of. It seems like everybody knows what plagiarism is, but maybe in the context, I want to talk about Kenneth Goldsmith, whose work I saw at the power plant, and this was maybe in 2013, and it was called Soliloquy. I think I may have made a mention of Soliloquy in a previous post or on Facebook somewhere, or on spiralvent.ca. I can't remember, but I did make a reference to Soliloquy, and it was such an important work for me because it really, and I'm sure a lot of artworks have done this before, but in Soliloquy, I think Kenneth Goldsmith made some really important points when it came to even to extend the meaning of what he was saying. I think it came down to issues of privacy and surveillance, and things like that. It came down to the issues of what is everyday speech, and what is speech that has been prepared. How do those things differ in their contexts, and their syntax and their subjects. So it was very important. Soliloquy is one of those things that I think may have kind of dealt with plagiarism, and if not Soliloquy, some of his other works, that dealt with transcribing the New York Times, I think it was, just word for word in book form, and then having that published and sold, or at least on display, or at least distributed. So I think a lot of what Spiralvent does I don't think it's plagiarism, but I think it's representative of basically new modes of communication that deal with the transmittal of things that have been written by other people, in the context of your profile, or in the context of a page that you host. So it's weird how sort of stringent and more accepted forms of discourse, and publishing and rights publishing rights have been somewhat unofficially usurped by sites like Facebook, or like Reddit, or Flickr, any sort of social site. Those things are kind of you know, I'm sure, like I said, and I think unofficial is sort of the important word. I think bigger companies, and they're seeing the monetary benefit of having people repost their stuff, you know, and not just the content, in terms of, you know, ideas and concepts, which can also be imagery too. But I mean, you know, using imagery and rehashing ideas almost, you know, almost verbatim, if not verbatim, on your own site, and you know, it comes down to also money. Just so you know, Spiralvent.ca does not make money. There's no money that comes from that. I don't make money from it. I spend money on it. I don't make money from it. So I mean, you know, and I really don't. I really don't feel bad about, you know, reposting things on Spiralvent.ca, because it doesn't really. It's not plagiarism, but and you know, I don't make money from it. So whatever. But that's my little thing on plagiarism. And I encourage you to look up Soliloquy. It's a pretty interesting piece of work. He was also kind of, he said from his from a video interview he had done, he said it was, you know, he lost some friends over it, so he must have done some growing up. Anyway, that's about that. And oh, I also said yesterday too that I was going to go to the Roberta Bond talk. It turned out to be extremely interesting. She's a really good speaker, and that's one of her points, that in the scientific community and in the arts community, the sticking point, or basically the most important thing is basically communication. If you've done a bunch of work, it means really nothing unless it's communicated. You know, the way I took that is, it doesn't necessarily mean like, you know, you have to be a people person, or you have to be an HR director, or a psychological, or you know, some sort of specialist in terms of human psychology. It just means whatever form you choose has to be very accessible and very apparent to whatever audience you're trying to reach. And these days, I think people are smarter than, I wouldn't say smarter, because, you know, when you start getting into the semantics of, you know, smart and intelligent and this and that, I'm just saying information through technology is just so much more accessible these days. I think you could be an HR person and understand a scientific paper, you know, because there's so many communication aids and so many channels that make understanding these things so much easier. And I think that her point was, you know, just don't shut down, and don't, you know, be a lonely person, etc., etc. And even then, you could still communicate. But communication is very important. And she herself was exemplary of it. You know, she was very well clear. She was clear and communicative, and you know, funny at times, and you know. And even her work itself, you know, she's also a photographer, etc. So I mean, you know, it was a very inspiring talk, and I think I'm going to go to another one on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. So I'm going to try to do that and see where it leads again. But they're very inspiring talks. And yeah, that's my video for now. I will talk to you later.